The sun rose slowly over Orion Prime. The city lights faded as the golden light touched the tall towers. The Galactic Institute was quiet. Most students were still sleeping, but Zarnak, Velis, and Corlon were already awake. Today was their last day at the Institute. They had finished their final report. They had shared the truth. Now their time as students was over. Soon, they would return to their home planets. But none of them felt the same as before. Zarnak stood. Near the window of their common room, he watched the sky and thought about everything they had learned. He still remembered the day Drex first said the word humans. Back then, he had not understood the weight that name carried. Velis packed her things slowly. She held a small data chip in her hand. It held the simulation they had made. She had copied it to keep for herself, not to use in war, but to remember. She wanted to make sure their story would not be forgotten. Corlin was quiet. He had spent the night writing a message to his people. He wanted them to learn what he had learned. He wanted them to know that peace had a cost, and that some gave everything to make it real. Later that morning, the three of them walked to the garden near the council hall. Drex was waiting for them there. "You have done more than I hoped," he said. "Many came before you, but none looked this deep. You asked hard questions. You saw the truth," Zarnak said. "We only followed the path." "The truth was always there." Drex nodded. "Most are afraid to follow it." They sat down together. Birds flew over the garden. A soft wind moved through the trees. Velis asked, "Will the council change the rule? Will humans be allowed again?" Drex shook his head. "No, not now. Galaxy still fears what might happen. The war is gone, but the memory is strong." Corlon looked down. "But is that fair?" Drex replied, "Fair or not, it is the choice the council made. They chose peace. To keep peace, they chose to keep humans out." There was silence again. Then Drex said, "But they also chose to remember. Your report will be placed in the archive of truth. Others will read it. Maybe one day the rule will change, and if it does, it will be because of you." That afternoon, a ceremony was held. Students from many planets stood in the Great Hall. They received their badges and were named as Scholars of Peace and Defense. Zarnak, Velis, and Corlon stood. Together as their names were called, Drex placed their badges himself. He looked each of them in the eye. "You carry more than knowledge now," he said. "You carry the truth." After the ceremony, many came to speak with them. Some asked about the humans. Some just said thank you. Few looked unsure. Not everyone wanted to believe the story, but it was told now. It could not be forgotten. That evening, the three students met one last time at the edge of the landing field. Their ships were ready to take them home. Zarnak said, "I was proud of my strength before. Now, I am proud of what I learned." Velis said, "I thought silence was power, but now I know truth is stronger." Corlin said, "I came to learn how to win, but I learned why we should not always fight." They stood for a while without speaking. Then one by one, they boarded their ships. As Velis sat in her seat, she looked at the stars. She thought of Earth, a planet far away, full of people who had once fought to save others. People who had been pushed too far, and who had pushed back even harder. On Zarnak's ship, he held the medal he had received. He had always thought glory came from battle. Now he knew it could also come from understanding. Corlon's ship flew high over the towers. He looked down at the Institute, now growing smaller. He thought about the fire that lived in the hearts of the humans. It was not a fire of hate. It was a fire of duty, of love, of loss. On the other side of the galaxy, on a quiet world, Carter sat near his window. He looked up at the same stars. He smiled softly. He knew the students had told the story well, and that was enough. In the years to come, their report would be read many times. Some would argue with it, others would agree, but none could deny it. The truth was out. The reason humans were banned was not because they were evil, not because they broke rules, but because they reminded the galaxy what war truly meant. And sometimes the greatest warriors are the ones who wish never to fight again. The sun was low on the frozen moon as the small shuttle landed near a quiet house. Zarnak, Velis, and Corlon stepped outside and looked around. The air was cold, and the ground was covered with ice. A man stood near the door of the house. was tall, with white hair and deep lines on his face. His eyes were sharp, watching them closely. "You must be the students," the man said. Zarnak stepped forward. "Yes. We came to speak with Carter. Are you him?" The man nodded. "I am." "Come inside." The house was simple. The walls were made of stone, and the fire crackled in the corner. There were books on the shelves and old photos on the walls. Carter walked slowly to a chair and sat down. The student sat across from him. "Why do you want to talk to an old soldier like me?" he asked. Velis answered, "We are studying why humans were banned from the Galactic War. We want to know the truth." Carter looked into the fire. For a long time, he said nothing. Then he spoke softly. "The truth is not easy. But if you came all this way, I will tell you." He leaned back in his chair. "I was the commander of a human warship. It was called the Phoenix. We joined the galactic forces during the last years of the war. At first, no one trusted us. They thought we were too young, too wild." Corlin asked, "Were they wrong?" Carter smiled a little. "No, we were wild, but we learned fast. We didn't fight like the others. We didn't follow all the rules. That's why they needed us, and that's also why they feared us." He stood up and walked to a photo on the wall. It showed a younger Carter standing with a group of soldiers. They all looked tired but proud. "We were sent on missions no one else would take. We faced enemies that didn't care about peace or honor. We had to stop them, no matter what." Zarnak leaned forward. "How did you stop them?" Carter turned to look at him. "By using everything, not just weapons. We used fear, confusion, and surprise. We made them believe we were stronger than we were. We made them afraid to fight." He pointed to another picture. It showed a large alien ship in flames. "One time, we were trapped by a fleet 3 times our size. We had no way out. So I told my crew to send out false signals. We made it look like more human ships were coming. The enemy waited. And while they waited, we slipped behind them and hit their command ship. It exploded. The rest of their fleet ran away," Velis said. "You used tricks." "Yes," said Carter. "We used what we had. Humans don't always win because they are stronger. We win because we never stop trying." He sat down again. His face looked tired, but it came with a cost. "People didn't understand us. Some called us dangerous. Some said we broke the rules of war. Maybe we did, but we also ended it." Corlin asked. "Was that the reason for the ban?" Carter nodded. "Yes. After the war, the council met. They looked at what we did. They saw how fast we learned.
We fought.
They saw that we were willing to go further than others." He paused. "They decided it was too risky. If humans kept fighting, the galaxy would never know peace. They banned us, not to punish us, but to protect everyone else." The room was silent for a moment. Only the fire made a sound. "Do you agree with the ban?" Zarnak asked. Carter looked into the flames again. "Some days, yes. Other days, no. We did what we had to do, but I also saw things I can never forget. War changes people. It changed me." He looked at each of them. "You want to understand humans? Then remember this. We are not monsters. We don't love war. But when we are pushed, we fight with everything. We fight to win, and we fight to protect." Velis stood up. "Thank you for telling us. We have learned a lot." Carter nodded. "Good, but don't stop here. Look at what happened after the war. What did peace mean to the humans? What did it mean to the others?" The students left the house and walked back to the shuttle. The sky above was dark, with stars shining brightly. No one spoke during the flight back. Back at the institute, Drex was waiting. "Did you find him?" he asked. "Yes," Zarnak said. "He told us the truth." Velis added, "They were banned because they were too good, too determined." Drex nodded slowly. "Now you understand." The council did not fear their weapons. They feared their will. Corlin looked at the stars above. They fought because they had no other choice, and that made them strong. The students returned to Orion Prime. Their minds were full of new thoughts. The visit with Carter had changed something inside them. They had read books and watched videos, but talking to a human who had lived through war was different. It felt real now. In the days that followed, Zarnok, Velis, and Corlon met every evening to talk. They no longer saw humans as just another species. They saw them as something else, something the galaxy did not fully understand. One morning there, Teacher Drex called them into his office. He looked more serious than usual. "You have gone deeper into this study than any others before you," Drex said. "Now you must prepare your final report." The three students nodded. They had already begun writing it. Now they wanted to do more. They wanted to show the truth, not just tell it. "We want to create a new simulation," Zarnak said. "One that shows how humans ended the war." Drex raised an eyebrow. "That battle is locked in the archives. Even I do not have access." Velis stepped forward. "We found the data. Carter gave us an old memory chip. It holds the last mission of the Phoenix." Drex was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Very well. You may use the simulation room, but be careful. That mission is not easy to watch." The next day, they entered Simulation Room 7. The lights dimmed. The screen showed the Terran warship Phoenix. Its metal body was covered with damage. Inside, the crew moved fast. Alarms were ringing. "This is the final battle," said Corlon. The Phoenix had one goal: stop the enemy flagship before it reached the central colonies. The human fleet was small. The enemy fleet was large and full of weapons. Every other force had already pulled back. Only the humans stayed. As the battle began, the students saw how the humans fought. They moved fast, using small ships to distract the enemy. They sent false signals. They made it look like help was coming. But no help ever came. The Phoenix flew straight toward the enemy flagship. The enemy fired everything they had. The human ship shook and lost parts of its hull. But it kept going. Inside the ship, the crew worked without rest. They were tired, but no one gave up. The captain gave one last order. He told the crew to leave. Only he stayed behind. Then the Phoenix crashed into the enemy ship. There was a bright flash. Both ships exploded. The simulation ended. The room was quiet. Velis wiped a tear from her eye. "They gave everything," Zarnak nodded. "They knew they would not return." Corlon looked at the screen, but they stopped the war. The students added the simulation to their report. When the day of the presentation came, the classroom was full. Other students, teachers, and even members of the Galactic Council were present. Drex stood up. "Today you will hear the truth about why humans were banned from war," Zarnak began. The report talked about human history and their many wars. He spoke about their will to survive and their ways of thinking. Velis spoke next. She showed videos of battles and told the stories of human soldiers who gave their lives to protect others. Then Corlin showed the final simulation. The room was silent as it played. When it ended, no one said a word for a long time. Finally, a member of the council stood up. He was old and wise. He had once served during the war. "I was there when the humans joined," he said. "And I was there when they were banned. We feared what they could become, but we also knew we needed them." He looked at the students. "You have shown us not just their strength, but their heart." Drex stepped forward. "So, what do we learn from this?" Velis answered, "We learn that humans fought to protect others, not to rule them." Zarnak added, "They used fear because they knew what fear could do. But they also gave hope," Corlon said. "They broke rules to stop something worse. And they carried the weight of that choice." The council thanked the students. The room slowly emptied, but the lesson stayed. Later that evening, the three students sat under the stars. The night was quiet. Velis looked up. "Do you think the humans will return to the council one day?" Zarnak said, "Only if they are needed again," Corlin added. "And if they do, the galaxy will remember this time." They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth still turned. And though its people were far away, their story had been heard again. Orion Prime was a bright world with tall silver towers and blue skies filled with flying ships. The Galactic Institute of Conflict Studies stood high above the city. It was a place where young aliens from many worlds came to learn about war, peace, and history. The students were the best of their kind, chosen to lead their people in the future. Zarnak was from the planet Othar. He had 4 arms and skin like stone. He was strong, smart, and proud of his people. Velis was a Nithari, with silver hair and eyes that could see in the dark. She was quiet but sharp, always watching and learning. Corlin came from Jarkeen, a world of fire and smoke, he had read. Scales and a sharp tail, but he was calm and kind. The 3 were close friends, always studying and training together. Their teacher was Drex, an old Catholi with blue skin and long ears. Drex had seen many wars and knew many secrets. One morning, Drex entered the classroom with a serious look on his face. The room fell silent. Today we begin a new topic, Drex said. It is called Forbidden Species in Warfare. We will study species that are not allowed to fight in galactic wars. The students looked at each other with interest. Forbidden species were rare. Most were peaceful or too weak. But then Drex spoke one name that made everyone pause. Humans. There was silence. Even Zarnak, who never feared anything, looked surprised. But humans are not dangerous, said Corlon. They're small. They live on one world. Drex nodded. Yes. And yet they were banned by the Galactic Council after only a short time in our ranks. Velis raised her hand. Why? What did they do? Drex smiled a little. That is what you will find out. I am giving you a special task. You 3 will study. Humanity. You will learn what happened and tell the class. But be careful. Much of this information is hidden for a reason. Zarnak leaned forward. We accept the task. We want to know the truth. Later that day, the 3 students went to the archive tower. The tower was old and full of secrets. They used their access codes and entered a dark room with many screens and books. A robot guide appeared and asked for their request. We want to study humans, said Velis. The robot paused. That file is restricted. You need special permission. Zarnak showed the task order from Drex. The robot checked it, then opened a door to a small room with one screen. You may speak to a retired galactic liaison, the robot said. Her name is Linda Moore. She served on Earth. The screen turned on. An old human woman appeared. Her hair was gray, and her face had many lines, but her eyes were sharp. Hello, students, she said. What, you want to know about humans in war? Yes, said Corlin. Why were your people banned? Linda gave a sad smile, because we were too good. At it, the students looked confused. Humans do not have the biggest weapons, she said. We are not the strongest or fastest, but we do not give up. When we fight with everything. Our minds, our hearts, our fear, and our rage. She told them stories about Earth's history. The students saw wars on the ground, in the air, and even in space. They saw humans fight for land, for power, and sometimes just to survive. They saw how humans could change their ways, make new plans, and turn any tool into a weapon. Zarnak watched a video of a battle on Earth. A small group of humans held back a large army using traps, tricks, and courage. They should have lost, he said. But they won, said Linda. That is what makes humans dangerous. The students thanked Linda and left the tower. Outside, they sat under a tree and talked. I never thought they were like this, said Velis. So much fire inside them. They are not like us, said Corlin. We train to fight. They are born into a world that teaches them to survive. Zarnak looked up at the stars. We need to learn more. I want to know what they did in the Galactic War. They went back to Drex and asked for more access. Drex looked at them with quiet eyes. You are not afraid? He asked. No, said Zarnak. We want to understand. Drex nodded. Very well, but be warned. The deeper you go, the darker the truth. And so the 3 students took their first step into the secret past of humanity. A past filled with fire, blood, and something the galaxy had not seen before. Something it chose to lock away. The truth about why humans were banned from war was waiting, and they were ready to find it. Asterisk, the room was quiet when the video ended. The alien students looked at each other. No one spoke. Their teacher, A tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms floated closer to the center. That was Earth. That was war, he said. A green-skinned student named Kilo raised his hand. But why did they fight like that? It looked like chaos. The teacher, named Garuin, nodded slowly. Yes, it was chaos. But it was also strategy. Humans are different. That is why they were banned from the Galactic War. The student still looked confused. Another student. A small insect-like being named Drilka buzzed softly. But aren't humans weak? Their planets are few. Their weapons are not as advanced. Garuin turned to her. That is what many believed. But long ago, the council made a mistake. They allowed humans to fight. And everything changed. The students leaned forward. The story was just beginning. Garuin continued. Before the ban, one of the first humans allowed to join was a young man named Eric. He was not strong or tall. He had no special powers, but he had a sharp mind. He was placed in a small unit with soldiers from other planets. Most of them laughed at him. Why? Asked Drilka. They thought he was useless, said Garuin. But they were wrong. Eric did not try to prove himself with muscle. He asked questions. He watched. He listened. Garuin paused. The room was silent again. One day, the unit was sent to a frozen moon. The enemy was there, a large army. Everyone thought they would lose. The captain was nervous. But Eric spoke up. He had a plan, a strange one. The students were listening closely now. He said they should let the enemy come into the valley. He wanted to trap them there. The others laughed, but the captain agreed. Kilo frowned. That sounds like a trap, but how could it work? Garuin smiled. It did. Eric had studied the moon's storms. At the right time, strong winds would blow ice and snow down the valley. The enemy walked into the trap. When the storm came, they could not escape. Students looked amazed. The enemy lost many that day, and the humans began to gain respect. But that's just one man, said Drilka. Why ban the whole race? Garuin floated to the wall and tapped a screen. A map appeared. It showed stars and planets. This is what happened in only 3 months after humans joined. The war. Look at the red marks. Those are enemy bases destroyed. There were many red marks. Garuin looked at the class. Humans think differently. They do not follow patterns. They break rules. They surprise everyone, even their own allies. A quiet student at the back, named Liarak, raised his hand. Isn't that good in war? Surprise and smart plans? Yes, said Garuin. Very good. Too good. That is the problem. The students were quiet again. Something in Garuin's voice made them feel nervous. Garuin continued. Another story. A team led by a human woman named Carol was sent to protect a mining colony. The enemy attacked at night. The soldiers were few. They had no ships left. Everyone wanted to run, but not Carol. No, she ordered the miners to fill barrels with fuel. She placed them in a line and set them on fire when the enemy came. Then she used the smoke to hide the soldiers. They attacked from behind. The enemy thought they were outnumbered. Kilo looked impressed. So humans are brave. They are, Garuin said, and clever, fast, but they are also dangerous, not just to enemies, but to everyone. What do you mean? Asked Drilka. They win too well. They do not stop. When the war was almost over, the council met again. They saw something strange. The humans had started planning missions without asking. They moved faster than others. They changed plans without warning. Luruk looked confused. But if they helped win the war, why stop them? Garuin's face grew dark, because they scared the council. One day, a whole fleet of enemy ships disappeared. No one knew how. The humans said nothing. Weeks later, we found what was left. Broken ships, floating in silence. No survivors. The students were quiet. Even Drilka didn't speak. Garuin floated. Back to the center. That is why the ban was made. Not because humans are weak, but because they are too good at war, Kilo whispered. So we are afraid of them? Yes, said Garuin. Afraid of what they might become. The bell rang. The lesson was over. The students stood up slowly, still thinking about what they had heard, as they walked out. Lurak turned to Kilo. Do you think the humans will fight again one day? Kilo didn't answer right away. Then he said, maybe. I just hope we're not the ones they fight next. Garuin stayed behind. He looked at the old screen. A picture of a human face was still showing. A man with short dark hair and sharp eyes. He whispered, Eric changed everything. Then he turned the screen off. Outside, the stars shone bright in the black sky. And somewhere far away, Earth was quiet. For now.